And a lot of you watching this will already be doing that. A lot of you are already seasoned investors. This is my gold and silver ratio. What ratio is considered good? Well, by the end of this episode, you will know my own personal gold to silver ratio in my portfolio, and you'll also know what is considered to be good in terms of portfolio weight when it comes to commodities like precious metals regarding gold and silver. So what is the gold to silver ratio? How can we explain it in the most simple but effective way possible? Well, simply put, it is how many ounces of silver can be used to purchase an ounce of gold. Now, the current price of silver right now is £25.41. The price of gold is £2,130.60. So that means currently it would take 84 ounces of silver to purchase a single ounce of gold. Absolutely incredible statistics there, showing the pure scale and difference between the value of silver and gold right now. However, having said that, when we talk about the gold to silver ratio, we, as in me, I normally mean and refer to it as how much weight and balance is in my portfolio, not necessarily the specific terminology between the ratio of gold and silver, but I want to take a closer look and an in-depth dive look at my own gold to silver ratio of holdings. How is it balanced and what are the percentages weighted between silver and gold bullion? So my own personal gold and silver ratio, how do the commodities in my investment portfolio balance out, and why are they the way they are, and am I happy with them? Well, for the first time, believe it or not, ever, I recently calculated my ratio of gold to silver holdings in my portfolio, and I was pleasantly surprised to find out the balance. It gave me a real perspective on my portfolio in a whole, especially regarding commodities. Now, my silver. What is the holding percentage of my silver ratio? So, the way I worked this out was I looked at my entire commodity holdings between gold and silver, the value, and then that gave me a figure to work out the percentages. So, my silver holding, a mere 17.38%, whereas my gold holding is 82.62%. So that shows how heavily weighted my own personal portfolio is when it comes to commodities. I'm much more heavily weighted in gold bullion than I am silver. Now, of course, just because I've given you a percentage on the weightage of my portfolio, this doesn't really give you an indication of how much gold or silver I might own. However, it does give you a ratio percentage of the difference between how much silver to gold I own. Why do I have 82% over 17% of silver? Well, for me, I like silver. I think it's undervalued. I think it's a metal that is widely used, and I believe that there's a lot of upside potential for the real price of silver to increase over the next 2 decades. If that's the case though, future investments, why such a small holding in terms of that between gold? Well, if you didn't already know, there's a big issue with silver in the UK, and that is the VAT. We get charged 20% VAT on our silver purchases here in the United Kingdom, and for me, that is an absolute killer, not to include the fact that the premiums are also very high when purchasing from bullion dealers. However, moving on to gold, there isn't any VAT, and it's a larger store of wealth. I can invest a lot more capital in one singular item, and it's going to protect me supposedly easier, longer, and potentially have greater results. So for me, the reason I have that heavily weighted sided more in gold is because of the benefits. There's no VAT. I can store larger amounts of wealth in an asset that is less volatile. It's got more upside potential for the long term. We know it's consistent. Gold has always been that hedge against inflation, that wealth preservation device. And for me, I personally believe in it more than I do silver. Now, if there was a change in the silver situation here in the United Kingdom, maybe they were to remove the VAT like America has it removed, that would then definitely change my perspective on investing in silver bullion. However, as it stands, I'm very happy with that ratio. 17% to 82% silver versus gold. I like that. I feel like that's a good diversification. I do, after all, want more of my wealth preserved in an asset that's more stable and has a larger value. And for me, that's why gold trumps silver. But that's my portfolio. When we look at other investors, how do they compare? What would they do and why? Well, let's take a look at the world's most famous investor, Warren Buffett. Now, he has an astronomical amount invested in silver, almost $1 billion. And in his gold portfolio, not as much, hardly at all. He's been very vocal about this. He prefers silver. He doesn't want as much gold. Why is that? Well, his portfolio, his investment goals and timeline will be different to mine. They'll be different to yours. And that's how a portfolio should be. It must represent you and no one else. So we've spoken about what actually is the gold to silver ratio, and we've taken a more in-depth look at how it actually balances out in your portfolio. We've looked at my own personal holdings between silver and gold, and we've looked at other investors. But what is considered good when it comes to your weightage in your portfolio regarding commodities such as gold and silver? Well, of course, percentages vary. However, most recommend a minimum holding of between 5 to 10% of gold and silver in your portfolio, while others recommend as much as 25%. There's a big difference there between 5 and 25%. I think really it comes down to your own plan. You know, we know that silver has a great chance for value increase. Most people would agree that silver is undervalued, whereas we know that gold is a wealth preservation device. So what it comes down to is really your investment goals, your desires, your targets, your plan. And I think something that is really important is your timeline. You know, when we invest in investment vehicles, maybe long-term investments like index funds, the S&P 500, precious metals, gold and silver, usually time is a big factor. And that does affect your investment for the good or the bad. So I think when it comes to looking at your portfolio, it's important to remember why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and what you're looking to get out of it. Although some people may have it weighted differently in their portfolio, that doesn't necessarily mean that that will work for you. Remember, investing is individual, it's personal, and it should be fun. Comparison is the thief of joy, and when you start looking at other investment portfolios of other people, you try to catch up on those targets. You try to set targets. And I think for me, that's not a good idea. I think you really should focus on yourself. And a lot of you watching this will already be doing that. A lot of you are already seasoned investors, whether it's in property, cryptocurrency, gold and silver, ISAs. You know what you're doing already. But if you're new to the investment world and you're watching this video for the first time here on the channel, try and set your own personal goals and targets. You can definitely use other investment portfolios to guide you, but remember, it's very much a personal thing. So in conclusion, we've covered a whole range here. We know that the price difference between silver and gold is astronomical. We know that there's no real definitive answer of how much you should have in your investment portfolio, although professional investing experts on the Wall Street or London Stock Exchange would say between 5 to 10% of commodities is a good amount to have in your investment portfolio. But I'm going to leave you on this final thought. If you've got health, you've got wealth, and everything else after that is a bonus. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you very much for watching. If you have stayed all the way till the end, please consider smashing the like button. It costs absolutely nothing to do, and it shows how much you enjoyed the video, and it means a lot to me as a content creator. And if you want to see more content like this, well, let me know. Put a comment in the comment section below and make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes. Until next time, I look forward to seeing all of you in the very next episode.